does Zach feel about all these gifts?
Next Wednesday.
Mr. Duncan.
Looking beautiful.
I just finished breakfast with my fiance.
Loyalty is put to the test.
Got anything you want to get off your chest?
You and I could get into a lot of trouble with you practicing law without being licensed. You understand?
You ain't got to worry about that. I got her back now.
All right, Sistas fans, first of all, happy Friday. Give yourself a pat on the back for making it to the end of the week. Man, the first week of September is now in the books. So I wanted to, well, ironically enough, do a video that is quote unquote work related. And I'm talking about the ongoing saga of the budding tension between Andi and Fatima at the law firm. Now, I want to preface it by saying that, hey, we only got a snippet of the scene from next week where Andi's sitting in Fatima's office and she noticed how it's just full of flowers and other gifts and whatnot. And she's telling Fatima about the dangers of, you know, practicing as an attorney without actually being a legit lawyer. You know, she's still a paralegal. She's still in law school. Yet, you know, she's helping out these athletes with their contracts. And they can get into a lot of trouble. But, and, oh yeah, she also asked about, does Zach know about all these gifts? And like, you know, I'll get back to that line in a moment. So then that's when Hayden pops in and is like, oh, don't worry about it. I got her back. Showcasing that, hey, I know that Fatima, and I think I used this analogy in either, I think it was my trailer breakdown, but I'll say it here again. Essentially, imagine Andi is like a police officer saying, you know what, Miss Wilson, you do have your learner's permit, but you don't have your driver's license. So basically, you shouldn't be out here on the road by yourself because if you get caught, it's going to lead to a lot of trouble. But then that's when Hayden leans up from the back seat and, oh, actually, officer, I'm in here too. I'm in the vehicle. I'm a licensed driver, so we're all above board here. That's essentially what's going on. And well, it's a good thing Fatima agreed to let Hayden, you know, kind of be a backseat driver a couple episodes ago. Or else, you know, when Andi calls her out, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, you're right. But now it's like, no, it's all good. So from there, I wonder how Andi's going to react to that. The fact that, wait, you trust slimy Hayden? So you're going to, you know, work together with him on this as opposed to me or letting me work on this. Andi's right. Now, let me just start off by saying, in terms of Fatima acting as an attorney prior to getting her degree, you know, going through the bar exam and whatnot, going through law school, she's absolutely correct. But the thing is, like I said, Hayden is aboard, so they're all good. Now, and I'll say this in a separate video, but I did put this in my lengthy post I made about this entire subject on social media earlier this morning. Folks, I understand this in terms of feeling a level of ridiculousness regarding, well, Jeremy, you're right in regards to Fatima, but let's be real here. Andi shouldn't even be looking at contracts for athletes anyway. Her specialty is like divorce or family law. It has nothing to do with athlete contracts. You're right. But part of me wanted to go, you know what? Look, this is TV land. We know when it comes to Tyler Perry writing, not just on Sisters, but in shows of the past. Like, he'll introduce one character who is, I don't know, either a judge or a police officer or a doctor or nurse or, you know, whatever, insert profession here. And that person will be the face of whatever the plot needs. Like, oh my goodness, can we get Dr. Jones in here? Why? Because Carol, she needs to get some brain surgery done. Huh? But that doctor is only specifically knowledgeable in delivering babies. But yeah, the plot demands that we need a doctor to work brain surgery. See, and then the doctor comes in and does it, and it's like, wait, what? I know it is ridiculous, but that is how Tyler Perry shows work. If he gives a character a specific expertise or job title, then that's going to encompass everything. Hey, this person is a firefighter, but he's also a scuba diver. It's like, yeah, we need somebody to, scuba dive to the bottom of this lake to find, I don't know, Heather's missing locket. I know it's off the wall. It makes no sense, but that's how the writing is. And then to flip it on its head, I have to give the writers credit. Yeah, believe it or not, the writing team. What did Robin tell Hayden last season when he requested Hayden to work Andi's caseload while she wasn't, when she was kind of like benched for the season at the law firm? And Hayden said, but Andi's a family lawyer, divorce attorney. I'm a tax attorney. What did Robin say? Well, the thing is, we're kind of short-staffed around here now, and I'm going to need some of the attorneys to pick up cases that aren't really in their fields because this is a necessity. Now, can you handle that? So in universe, they explain why some of these lawyers, like a tax attorney or a family law specialist, will be working cases that are not in their field of expertise due to a shortage of workers at the firm, simply put. So even though we might not like it in terms of, so why is a family lawyer being brought athlete contracts? I guess because Andi reached the level of partner, it's like all encompassing. Andi can do anything now. Like I said, ridiculous, but the plot did explain it in its own flimsy way, okay? Can we just completely move past that narrative of, this lawyer makes no sense? I mean, yeah, well, it makes sense. Hayden's involved because he's a tax attorney, and well, these athletes are going to be in a different tax bracket. So that makes sense, and that's true. So from now on, let's just completely drop this is so ridiculous that this attorney is working this case, which is not their field of expertise. All right? Get it, got it, good. Now, back to the action. When it comes to Andi, I had to call her out, though, because even though she's right about the whole getting in trouble thing, I don't really think that's fair. Because, like I said, she is right. She is right. But, hear me out. We know the numerous times Andi has had her back covered by Fatima. And let's not forget that there have been times Andi doesn't even know about that Fatima has either stood up for her or, fell on the sword, or she did something that helped out Andi in the long term. And let's be real here, given Fatima's familial connections and whatnot, some of those circumstances weren't exactly by the books or legal. But in the end, Fatima either made a phone call or did something herself that landed Andi in the, winner's circle by the end of the day. Whether it be a professional, personal, or sometimes like a financial win. Andi did it because of Fatima. And more often than not, Fatima's the one that puts her behind over the fire. It was like, it didn't matter what the consequences or repercussions would be for Fatima for doing stunt XYZ. So long as it ended up getting Andi in the winner's circle at the end of the day, it was all good. But it's almost like Andi is coming across as a hater due to the fact that I feel like in some kind of way, she probably feels, jealous seeing Fatima's office full of flowers. And we don't even know if, like in the promo where Zach opens the door and there's like a big desk or something, and then basically these players are sending gifts to the home. So I don't know if this is this conversation with Andi is taking place before she even goes to work. So like, when Andi asks, so how does Zach feel about all these gifts? I wonder if, let's say, a bunch of these gifts are being sent to the house, or like Fatima could be like, well, he doesn't know about them. But then while they're talking during the episode later in the day, that's when Zach, because remember, his ass ain't working, he gets a knock on the door and then gifts are showing up. It's like, what's going on? Which kind of lends itself to that moment in the promo where Zach is like, so is there anything you want to get off your chest? At first glance, it seems like he's about to confront Fatima about the statements regarding feeling relief over the stillborn being his. But he could also be hinting at, so what's with all these gifts? Where are they coming from? That could be misdirection, because remember, these trailers can be like that. So when we go back to Andi, I'm just thinking like, Yeah, I feel like there's some haterade in her coffee this morning because let's say, okay, paralegals typically do the grunt work, and then they hand off the work to the attorneys. So here's what I'm trying to break down. So when I forgot the title of the person. I want to say executor, and I'm referencing the process of me getting my house or getting approval for my mortgage. So simply put, similar to how I prepare my taxes, especially being self-employed, I had to make a humongous list of things detailing, hey, here's how much I make on YouTube. Here's how much I make on eBay. All right. This is how much I earned in this year. And then I listed out all my expenses, all my purchases pertaining to my businesses. All right. And it's like the only reason I had to give this over to an executor is because they review it and then put their signature on it. Simply put, it's like, well, Jeremy, I'm talking for the mortgage company here. Well, Jeremy, you know what? You do a great job of breaking down your expenses and, how you make money and what you spend on your business and yada, yada, yada. But we need to have this paperwork like notarized or, reviewed by an executor. Basically give it their seal of approval. And once that's done, we can move forward. So I had to pay how much? I think it was like $500. They told me how expensive it was. Look, folks, this was a couple years ago, but I know it was a hefty penny. It was like, so I got to pay this person. I'm just going to throw a number. So I had to pay this person like nearly $1,000 just to look over some paperwork. Well, not even paper. It was 2 pages, folks. It was just 2 pages, one list for YouTube, one list for eBay that I spent hours putting together. And they were able to review it in like a couple of days when they had time. And the process took less than 30 minutes. And once they just officially put like a cover page on it, yay, you're done. So that's what a paralegal's kind of like. They're the person who does like a preliminary review, and then they submit it to the attorney, and then the attorney gives the final review. But here's the thing. If Fatima did such an amazing job on the contracts, that means far less work for Andi. Andi would make any sort of necessary changes if there are any. And from there, she give it the seal of approval and good to go. Now, I'm wondering what the circumstances would be if, let's say this. So everything happens exactly the same way. Fatima meets with K-Dubs. She makes such a stellar first impression. K-Dubs is like, hey, I need to tell the players. And then that's when Fatima's like, well, yeah, let me pass this along to Miss Barnes so she can review it, and we'll talk from there. And let's say everything goes well, where Fatima continues to knock it out of the ballpark. She just looks over a contract, points out the flaws, and then sends it to Andi. And similar to like an English teacher grading a paper, there are little to no red marks on it, aka Fatima just knocked it out of the ballpark. All Andi did was give it a 100 and a check mark showing, hey, this contract is great to go. I think both parties will benefit because my paralegal reviewed it to make sure you wouldn't get screwed over, and any corrections she made, I would have made the same ones. So then if Andi, being the attorney, had her office filled with gifts, how would she feel about that? That's what I'm saying. It just seems that Fatima putting her butt on the line to alley-oop a W for Andi is all well and good. But when a circumstance appears where Andi has her butt over the fire for Fatima, well, essentially, Andi doesn't want her hiney over the fire unless she gets a W in the end. It's like if you watch that movie, one of my favorite comedies, Talladega Nights. Ricky Bobby, Will Ferrell. It's essentially, what was his buddy's name in that movie? I forgot his name, but he was funny. Shake and Bake, like his partner on the racetrack essentially was it Kyle or something? Essentially, he would position himself on the racetrack to let Ricky always get the wins, and the buddy would always get second place. But then when the friend ended up winning, Well, then he did steal his wife and everything. But either way, when he started winning, that's when Ricky got mad. So essentially, it's like Fatima is only good as an asset because I'm going to be real. Andy's starting to have that late season 2, season 3 Karen attitude towards Fatima in terms of, you're my assistant. Remember how Karen used to say that? She's a secretary. All she is Andy's assistant. Hating on Fatima and Zach being together. And it seems like for the first time, Andy is treating Fatima like an assistant rather than a friend. Talking about how we can both get in trouble. Well, Andy, what about all those times that Fatima could have gotten in big trouble, like in season 2 when the feds came to the law firm and she hid like a hard drive. It was some sort of device on your desk that prevented, the FBI from scanning your computer and whatnot and getting evidence that could have you locked up along with Gary. Or what about when, even though I still feel this was completely unnecessary, when she took that baseball bat to that board meeting with all those partners last season so you could demand your spot back at the firm? You don't think she could have got fired for that? Which definitely she could have and should have, but didn't. And the list goes on. Now, what I'm not going to do is sit up here and act like Andy has always ignored Fatima's help, because let's be real. In season 2, after she had her name cleared and whatnot, and season 1, Leslie, the private investigator that Jasmine hired to follow Gary, but then she eventually fired, so then Leslie started to help Andy on the side. Remember when Leslie's only payment that she wanted for handing over evidence to Andy that would help, save her butt when the feds came looking for her, was to set her up with a woman. And Fatima actually helped out with that. Because had it not been for Fatima hooking up Leslie with somebody, then Andy wouldn't have gotten that information, and then that information wouldn't have cleared both her and Gary's name. So, folks, saying that Andy wouldn't even be partner without Fatima is an understatement, because she's been helping her along the way for so long. So in season 2, after getting her name cleared, remember that Andy not only got like over $1 million settlement from the firm, but also she took Bellamy's position, but also requested that Fatima gets a raise and basically, moves up with her. So Andy did have Fatima's back then. But let's not forget all the numerous times Fatima's been there for Andy since then. And I just feel like Andy's that kind of person who says she wants her friend to win, but when the friend starts winning, it's like, well, I didn't mean win that much, or I didn't mean get that successful, because then they'll have a problem with it. And for Andy to kind of like, well, she's had moments in the past, like let's say when her and Zach are, a bit intimate, and I don't mean like sex, but just, touchy-feely and a little kiss here and there at the office. Fatima, don't you have work to do? This coming from the woman who used to parade her poom-pooms around the office, especially after Robin was introduced. Remember? And I mean, even Fatima called her out. I was like, girl, I mean, if I'm being honest here, your tatas are a bit out way too far. Because she would just have her whole chest exposed. And then she got intimate with the boss, aka the owner of the firm, Robin. She got intimate with one of the janitors, aka Paris. And speaking of, we can get in a lot of trouble. How many times has Andy's personal relationships, aka Gary, even when she wasn't in a relationship with him anymore, essentially, guilty due to proximity? The law firm has been put in turmoil nearly half a dozen times due to Gary and the relationship with Andy. I mean, like in season 1, when Jasmine was going to sue the firm, because one of the attorneys who was working her case actually was the one messing around with her husband. And then, in season 7, when the feds came in because, of Gary, because remember at that time, Gary's company and the law firm had signed a deal to be like a semi-merger or collaboratory projects, and boom, the law firm got under fire because of that. So for Andy to sit up here talking like, well, we can get in trouble. Shut up. Because I'm just thinking, the only reason she's upset is because she's not the one winning right now. That's it. You've made partner. What else do you want, woman? Seriously. Like, You would think, like, how many times has Fatima been Andi's loudest cheerleader for any win she's gotten? Any win, whether it be with a man or especially in the firm. Girl, you killed it on that case. Or that's what I'm talking about. She was cheering in the room when she was announced as partner and everything. But here goes Fatima getting a pat on the back from a client, and then clients lined up outside of her door, and you got the buzzkill Andi. Hey, listen, I ain't gonna hold you. I can relate to this. Family members, like, when I started blowing up online and whatnot, like, they're just the haters. Like, Jeremy, when you were growing up, I always said you'd be something. Like, yeah, you're right. You occasionally said that, but when I started winning, it's like, oh, well, don't spend your money so fast, or, they're like, shut the hell up. Like, you did nothing to contribute to me making it where I am now. So don't be trying to, like, well, I can help, in terms of, like, advice on, house payments. Like, I don't need your advice. Like, look, like, you never gave me anything. I was like the lesser than. I was like, let's be real. Like, I was the relative with the darker skin complexion, but y'all favored the nieces or the nephews who had that, light, bright, damn near white. Y'all gave them money when they went to college, or, you took them on trips. Like, yeah, I was never that dude. And look, I'm not trying to rant and make this a video about me and my personal life, but it's just the relatability of it. It's like where you got these people who will say, yeah, you graduated, congratulations. All right, but you didn't give me no money. Or, it's like, or you needed help. It's like, hey, Jeremy's smart. Can he help out with this thing? And I do. But when I start winning, all of a sudden you want to don't bring that negativity around me. Just no. But I think at this point, Fatima, you need to pull a Candace Young on the haves and the have-nots and take the bar exam. Wait, did she ever take the bar exam? I know Professor Cannon gave her that letter, which basically allowed her to skip through the classes. And hey, if you take the exam, you're automatically a lawyer. I don't think she ever did that. But I wonder if Fatima, I feel like she could probably do it. Well, I mean, I need to see a couple episodes of grinding sessions because she's good at what she does, but I don't know. Hey, it's the power of plot, baby. It does what it wants to. But more to the point, yeah, Andi is just like, she doesn't want to put her behind over the fire unless she's the one who gets the victories at the end. Or better yet, she doesn't want to have her behind over the fire at all. I mean, the only time and I hate to mention behind over and over again, but I don't want to say ASS, monetization and whatnot. But the only reason Fatima, the only times we seen Andi do things herself was when Marie came and gave her a swift kick to the ass. Okay, I will say that one time. Like, when she gave her that girl talk, like, get off your behind. Stop acting like the victim. Gary Borders was not 100% responsible for your current predicament. And my favorite part of season 8 pertaining to Andi, when she got on that phone and she was calling former clients, some of the partners, basically garnering support and reminding the firm of her accolades and what she brought to the table. That was my favorite part about Andi. Now, in terms of her storming into the partners meeting and whatnot, I think the bat was like the thing I didn't care about the most. But her giving that ultimatum, I'm like, I got you. But all of her behavior, whining and slapping, like, she slapped the boss of the firm in the face, called him an SOB after he said, we're taking you off out of running for partner during the investigation. Like, you weren't talking about getting in trouble then. No, because you knew Robin wanted to drop the panties on you. But when Fatima, I don't know. And it all boils down to this. Andi, had you taken Marie Willis's nephew's meeting when the call came through, this wouldn't be happening. Because on the one hand, I applaud Andi for, like, the first time not neglecting a Marie Willis request, or let's be real, a demand for something that was actually work-related rather than personal. Because, like, remember when last season she's sitting in the conference room with Hayden and Andi on a meeting, or Andi had to either leave the meeting or she didn't have any updates from Marie. Oh, actually, sorry, I was planning a baby shower for my friend. Half my fortune is in turmoil right now. Jordan referred me to you. And when I gave you, well, before you took this position as working on my divorce case, I let you know up front. If you take my case, if you represent me, it better be your priority. You eat, sleep, and breathe Marie Willis's divorce case. And she put so many things above that. That's what pissed me off. Like, love, hate, despise, Hayden. That man was on the job. Yeah, he wasn't as good as Andi, but that man put more effort into it. It was only by circumstance that Andi came across Maurice, and that gave her the vital piece needed to save Marie's fortune. That was a happy accident. And you could argue, well, Jeremy, had it not been Andi being there for her friends on a personal matter, that wouldn't have happened. Yeah, because the plot favors Andi. She's a Mary Sue. She really is. But yeah, those moments where she actually gets off her butt and puts in effort, those are my favorite Andi moments, because when she gets a W, they feel earned. It doesn't feel like she had to step over anybody to get it. So yeah, it's just like, this woman has made partner, yet she can't stand to have her assistant get a few gifts. And it's ridiculous. It really is. So if you sat through this entire, explanation / rant, you're one of the real ones. Also, I just like the fact that some of you all have been saying you like these longer form videos where they're focused. If I do go on a quote unquote tangent, it's due to the fact that it's connected to the main subject in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, on some levels, I agree with Andi. She is right. But the thing is, when we talk about this Dr. Cruz situation, see, let's be real. It doesn't need to be your priority right now. Like, what harm would it have done to take that one meeting with K-Dubs? And it seems like Fatima did such a bang up job, Andi would have done a bang up job too. And from there, and it's not like Fatima was trying to steal Andi's shine. She literally said, K-Dubs, hey, we really, we'll see about, like you referring me to other players and whatnot. Let me pass it on to Miss Barnes. Fatima couldn't help the fact that she left such a good impression that K-Dubs, the first thing he did was run back and say, yo, there's this banging chick Fatima at this law firm that my godmother referred me to. Saved me millions of dollars. Y'all need to go hit her up. Fatima. It wasn't Andrea Barnes, it was Fatima. But in case you're also worried about like Fatima being a paralegal, Marie Willis came up in that meeting. She cut through Hayden's bullcrap, because remember, this was before Fatima allowed him to be part of what was going on. Remember, he just stopped by, saw it was K-Dubs, and started, fanboying over him, talking down about Fatima. And then Marie came like, and then, what's going on? I thought Andrea Barnes was supposed to be on this. Oh, she's actually working on the case right now, but I came in, to take this meeting before I told your godson about him. And then that's when K-Dub's like, no, don't worry, Godma. Fatima, Miss Wilson here, looked over my paperwork, and she possibly saved me millions of dollars right now. And Marie said, all right, well, just keep it up, because I don't give second chances, right? Oh, yes, ma'am. So basically, Fatima did such an amazing job. It saved both her, well, specifically Andi, from a tongue lashing from Marie, because good and well, if Fatima didn't do such a good job, and Kate was like, yeah, I came to meet Miss Barnes, like you said, but she's working on something else, and then she has like her assistant here just kind of reading me through stuff, and I don't really feel like I've learned anything. Then Marie would have went right to Andi's office and got on her case right then and there. But because Fatima did such an amazing job, she got K-Dub's stamp of approval. Marie's like, all right, as long as it's getting done. And then she has a bunch of players knocking at her, lined up. What do you say? Hey, don't be surprised if you have a bunch of people lined up at your door now. No, it's because Andi is too. Now, remember what I said earlier about me being proud of Andi for once not taking a personal matter and making that the priority when she should be handling things on the job? Well, on some level, let's be real here. I completely understand Andi working on this case, not just for Karen's sake, but for black women. Well, Dr. Cruz's previous patients, and hopefully no more future patients to receive this kind of neglect that Karen did. But given the fact that Marie is who she is, you could have at least taken I mean, that meeting with K-Dubs couldn't have been more than like an hour. You could have just said, okay, you know what? I can't even fully pursue this case yet. I'm just building a case. Let me just put it on pause here. Let me go meet with K-Dubs, see what's going on with that, and then I'll get right back to it. She could have done it that way, but she didn't. No, Fatima was like, well, hey, you know, if you're busy working on this thing, I could just meet with him real quick, and then I'll pass him along to you. How about that? But because she killed it, because she made such a good first impression, I want to work with Miss Wilson. That doesn't mean Andi still can't, you know, double check. But now she got Hayden working there. And, you know, hey, once he gets off his fanboy stage or, you know, his fanboy soapbox and does his job. Because like him or not, Hayden is capable. Like when he was bragging of Robin a few seasons ago. Like, if you notice, you know, I was like the top earning attorney during this quarter or that quarter. You know, that's before Andi really came in and stole the show. But either way, he is very essential to the firm. Like it or not, but he is. He's like top 3. So, Andi does got some haterade in him. I mean, in her, Andi, if you ask me. Because I just feel like she can't stand anybody else taking W's that she feels either meant for her or, you know, somebody being elevated that she doesn't want to get too far up, when I think that's complete bullcrap. And like some people say, yeah, Andi's definitely showing her true colors. Like, she got, you know, this new hairstyle, this new position at the firm, and now she got a new attitude. So, man. All right, well, don't get me started on Zach. That'll be a whole nother video. I said I would talk about Zach and his reaction to these gifts, but I don't think that I want to. It's already been over 30 minutes. I don't want to hold you too long, and I'm pretty sure I'll get to it over the weekend. But hey, folks, yet again, if you made it to the end of the video, I appreciate you. You are appreciated. You are part of the reason why I am able to continue doing YouTube the way I do for a living. You help the channel thrive, so give yourself a pat on the back. Make sure you like and subscribe. Follow me on social media. Donate to the channel if you would like. I got Cash App, PayPal in the description box. I got Zelly too. I need to add that in there. But yeah, every little bit helps. Or you just making it through my videos helps with the ad revenue. And I got bills, so thank you. But with that being said, folks, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.